What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today we're going to take at Pyro Glacial Lasswell, also known as CG Lasswell. We're going to talk about what the important parts of his kit are, exactly what sort of team members you want to use with him, how you want to gear him, so on and so forth in this advanced unit guide. So we're going to get right into it for you right here with Pyro Glacial Lasswell. Let's take a look at his weapon selection. He's got swords, great swords, katanas, only 3, but the only 3 that he really needs access to outside of fixed dice, because you know everyone loves fixed dice. So, but he doesn't have it, guys. There's no way to give it to him. Now, his armor selection is awesome. Hats, helms, all the kinds of armor, cloth, light armor, heavy armor, accessories, all the fun stuff, okay? He gets access to Purple Lightning's passive, which is amazing here. 92 attack, enables Azure Soul, which if you are Pyro Glacial Lasswell or Laswell, will give you 40% attack. They're fantastic katana for our man in blue that also uses some of the red. Okay, the fire and ice is what I'm getting at. Now, his important parts of his kit here, as you go through, he's got a lot of really garbage skills. I'm going to say it right now. Mirror of Equity, all that fun stuff. Not that strong, but he's got 3 really important skills. He's got Moonlight Fall, okay, Blade Flash, Awakened, and not Heaven Splitter. Heaven Splitter's a lie. Crimson Flash. Okay, those are the 3 most important skills here. So let's go over them real quick. We have Moonlight Fall, physical damage, 1.9 times multiplier to 1 enemy. Okay, pretty neat. Not that great, not that great, not that great. But the important part is that not only does it recover 40 MP or do a 45% Spirit Break, both are pretty negligible effects, but they enable access to Fatal Bloom and Crimson Era for 1 turn. So these unlock skills are very important. That is also why Blade Flash Awakened is important. It's got a not very high multiplier there either, but it does enable access to Blade Flash Final for 1 turn. And then Crimson Flash is the highest multiplier of all of these, 4.0 multiplier with a 45% defense break. That's pretty useful as well if you don't have a better defense break than that. And then it enables access to Blade Flash Final, Fatal Bloom in Crimson Era, all for 1 turn. So this is going to be like the best skill you can use most times, all right, with that defense break, and enables access to all of the skills. Another very nice skill for him, so you can get his LB off, which is integral to his kit, is Mirror of Life. Okay, increases LB gauge fill rate by 300% for 1 turn to the caster. All right, that's insane. You want to have access to that at all times if you're trying to build your LB gauge up, especially if you don't have any supports that can help you do that for yourself. Now, outside of that, some traits he has access to. He has Scarlet Bladed Oath, which enables one-handed weapons or dual wield of katanas and great swords. One-handed katanas, one-handed great swords. You can't use 2-handed weapons. Remember this. This is normal dual wield, all right, but it's restricted to katanas and great swords. Outside of that, he gets access to the blade, which gives him 20% attack and magic equipped with a katana, okay, as well as 10% defense and spirit. Nothing too insane there. Tranquil Spirit does help him get his LB up with 100% LB fill rate. And then he's got Extreme Skill, 40% attack when equipped with katana, and some paltry ice and wind resistance. He's got Crimson Shine here, which increases HP and MP by 30% when equipped with a great sword, and your fire resistance gets boosted a little bit there as well. Now, things to note here. Out of all of his passives here that require weapons to do stuff, greatsword doesn't actually give you any sort of attack. It's all katanas. The only kind of damage bonus you get from having a greatsword on is that you can dual wield a greatsword and a katana. Okay, if you want to dual wield katanas, right, and go out with that, and maybe they're your 2 best weapons, that's fine. You'll just have a little less HP and MP. If you want to use swords, you can do that, but you have to give him another access to some sort of dual wield. Now, he does get Knightly Bonds, as you can see here, from this new short story. Fairly good. 20% attack with 30% ice and wind resistance, or ice and fire resistance, not wind. Ice and fire resistance, guys. And chance to ignore fatal damage 50% when HP is above 70% max 1 time. This is okay. It's not as bad as it looks. It's also not nearly as good as you want it to be. So it's chance to ignore fatal damage, 50% chance. So you flip a coin basically. The problem with it is that it only can even have a chance to work if your HP is above 70%. So if you're like real low on HP and you go to get, finished off by a small AoE hit, it can't even proc. You have to be above 70% health. So if your Pyro Glacial Lasswell is getting basically 1-hit KO'd by an attack, something's going on with your tank setup that you need to take a look at. So most times this isn't really going to do that much for you. It won't proc when you need it the most, when something like just barely finishes you off. You have to get absolutely destroyed by something, and if you're getting absolutely destroyed by something, your whole team's probably getting absolutely destroyed by something. So that's pretty much a 20% attack passive that you can unlock. I'll take 20% attack though. Now we have these conditional skills here. right? These conditional skills are the most important parts of his kit. Basically, we have Fatal Bloom, Crimson Air, and Blade Flash Final. Fatal Bloom is an ice damage attack, 6.75 multiplier with 50% ice resistance in peril for 3 turns with 100% attack whiff. 100% attack whiff, that's okay. You probably have that from a bard anyway. The important part is that it's ice in peril and it's got a high multiplier. Okay. Crimson Air is very similar. It's the exact same thing except it's fire damage with fire in peril, 6.75 multiplier. And then we have Blade Flash Final, which this skill is his best skill. We have to like gear around it. It's not too hard to gear for though. Physical damage 5.25 times multiplier with ignore 50% defense. So this is going to be a 10.5 multiplier. It's going to be your strongest skill. Now this one's non-elemental though, so you need to be wearing some sort of elemental weapon to take advantage of an elemental in peril. Maybe you used Crimson Arrow, and then you have like a great sword that's fire elemental, then you just start spamming Blade Flash Final. Now what you'll notice about his kit is that he can't actually chain whatsoever. All of his strong moves right here are all one-hitters. Everything up here is either his default attack animation, which means he's not going to chain, or it's a one-hit skill. So he's not chaining with anything. He's strictly a chain finisher, okay? So he wants to dual wield, chain finish. He doesn't have any sort of benefits to double hand natively. He starts with 0% double hand, 0% true double hand. So he's a dual wielding chain finisher right now. And then one last caveat here, we're going to ignore Blizzaga and Aroga. He's got Unstoppable Wave, physical damage, 7.9 multiplier if we max it out with ignore 50% defense. So this is going to be like a 15.8 multiplier. Very nice there. Now, keep that in mind, he's dual wielding for the most part. So you can see where the problems with this kit come to. And then decrease fire and ice resistance by 50% for 3 turns to 1 enemy. And then enables access to the following abilities for 5 turns. This is why you want to max it out. For 5 turns, if you have this maxed out. Blade Flash Final, Fatal Bloom, and Crimson Air for 5 turns. If you have it at level 1, it's only 2 turns. So definitely max this out. This is where he gets all of his power from. It costs a bunch of LB crystals to go off though. 45, and that's why you need to have the proper team setup for your Pyro Glacial Lasswell. You want to get this skill, his LB off, as fast as possible, and you want to chain finish as many times as possible with a combination of Crimson Air, Fatal Bloom, or Blade Flash Final. Blade Flash Final being your strongest hitting skill. So what kind of units are we taking a look at when we're looking for people to work with Pyro Glacial Lasswell? We're looking at people the same as CGJ, people who can make you get Unstoppable Wave off as fast as possible and buff your damage. So we're not talking about tanks and anything like that. That's just the basics of team building. We're talking about, once again, entrusting type units. All right, same as before. It's not just any unit with entrust. It's a unit that has a cheap limit burst that has the skill entrust. It's because this allows them to fill their limit burst gauge up extremely quickly and trust it over to CG Lasswell, Pyro Glacial Lasswell, whatever you want to call the man. Fire this Unstoppable Wave off and start going to town. On top of these fast and trusting units, there are a few other units, same as what we talked about with Jake, that can help your Lasswell do even more damage. These are units that can imbue him with elemental attacks, power, and imperil for him at the same time. So if you're able to do this, you won't be stuck doing fire and ice damage anymore. You'll be able to do whatever sort of damage you want. If there's the one enemy is weak to lightning, you can have a lightning power on him. You can make him dual wield with the, I think it's the Tantrius lightning elemental greatsword. If you have someone who can imbue your Lasswell for you, this means that you can go a double hand Masamune build, okay, and unleash this skill with a bunch of attack power. I think it gets up to 2,000. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of builds that you can aim for in the long run to use your Pyro Glacial Lasswell. He is a chain finisher, so he's going to be a relatively demanding unit to gear up, but there are a bunch of substitutions you can make along the way. All right, so the first build we're going to show off here is the hardest build to work towards, and it's got the little amount of payoff for the amount of work you have to put into it. But this is the double hand, not even true double hand. This is the double hand Masamune build, all right, with Laswell. So this build's gonna be based around Masamune and a bunch of raw attack gear. It's got a couple pieces of true double hand gear in it, but it's actually a double hand build, so you can use stuff like Bart's Timar, Killian's Scarf, and stuff like that if you have better gear for a build like this than you do a traditional dual wield setup. So he uses Masamune. The main drawback of this build is that Masamune does not have an element associated with it, so you have to have someone to imbue Laswell for this build to do the amount of damage you want it to do, and that's because you want to always spam Blade Flash Awakened with your Laswell. It's got no element associated with it, so you won't be able to take advantage of any imperils natively because you're non-elemental. So you need like a water imbue or a lightning imbue from Dash when he gets enhancements, stuff like that. And then you'll be able to do a bunch of damage with this build. Now outside of that, you have raw attack gear on your head and your body. Whatever your highest raw attack gear is, you know, whether it's Precious Hairpin, Black Cow, the new bicorn that we get from the Reagan banner trading clothes. That's fine there. It's a TMR. There's also a bunch of 15 attack body pieces you can wear there instead. Martial glove is the best thing you can wear an accessory slot. You also can use Killian's scarf for this build because Masamune is a one-handed weapon. You can also use stuff like Desh's earring, all of that sort of associated stuff as well. Katana mastery, Buster style in Tomb Raider. Yes, this is the best build for this, but as you'll be able to see real quickly that you won't have to do this to make him good. We'll go right into the dual build for you guys. This build is much more easier to work towards in the long run, gives you some excellent stuff starting out as well. So Purple Lightning, we're using this as the katana of choice. This is because it gives us the 40% raw or 40% attack of your base stats while it's equipped to Pyro Glacial Lasswell. This is a huge boon to Pyro Glacial Lasswell. Great start of our choice, you're going to go with Flaming Blade Agni. You want a fire or ice weapon here. There's no ice elemental greatsword, so you want to have a greatsword. It's the easiest thing to work towards, so you want a fire one. That way you can dual wield the katana and the greatsword. If you don't have a Flaming Blade Agni or some sort of elemental greatsword that's fire ice, totally can just use a fire elemental katana while you work towards that. You'll be able to do a lot of damage that way. If you want to use Frivia's needle and go towards the ice route, you are going to have some sort of dual wield present in your build, whether it's Zidane's TMR dual wield or Lauren's or Genji Love or something like that. If you stick with katanas and greatswords though, like we said before, you don't need to have dual wield here. The headpiece, purchase hairpin, whatever your highest attack headpiece is, go for it. Whether it's Black Cowl, Black Bandana, Arrhenius helmet, he can wear any of them, so just put your highest attack headpiece there. Iron Colossus is only important in this build because it is a heavy armor. So if you don't have Iron Colossus yet, you can use Demon Mail. If you're not using heroes, or not heroes, Sworn 6 Dark. If you're not using Sworn 6 Dark, you do not have to use heavy armor here. So you can use Cloud's uniform, Sephiroth's uniform, anything that has the highest amount of raw attack on it. Go for that for the most part. If you're not using Sworn 6 Pride Dark, guys, that's a mouthful. The earrings. Desh's earrings for this build because we have such high percentage attack. So if you're not using Sworn 6 Pride Dark, you don't have Heroes Vow Dark, you'll be able to fit like an attack plus 30% materia here, or not materia, accessory here like Ring of Lucii, something like that. If you don't have Desh's earring, put your highest raw or highest percentage attack accessory here. So you can use stuff like the new Bomb family ring that's coming out. You can use Fury Ring. Those all both have raw 30 attack. Ifrit's bracers in here. I think it's Ifrit's Claw or Bracer from Gefgarian can be put here as well. Heroes Vow Dark is Reagan's new TMR. It works very well on Pyro Glacial Lasswell. Gives him plus 60% attack when you're dual wielding katanas and great swords. So throw that bad boy on him. And then CG Daddy coming through once again. Yes, we're calling him that because he's using Sworn 6 Pride Dark as well. Heroes Vow Dark and Sworn 6 Pride Dark. Pyro Glacial Lasswell, dude, you got some Reaganism in you, my guy. All right, then we got Large Sword Mastery, and we're gonna finish this build off with a Beast Killer. So basically, the most important thing for the dual wield build is you want to have and preserve the functionality of using the imperils from either your Limit Burst or from Crimson Era or from Fatal Bloom. This will put an Ice or Fire imperil on your opponent, whatever enemy you're attacking, and then you want to activate Blade Flash Awakened or Blade Flash Final from your Limit Burst and just spam Blade Flash Final 2 10.5 times multipliers every turn. Chain finish both of those and you'll be sitting pretty doing damage to your opponent. So stuff to work towards, these two things here. Good allies to have on your team. Definitely want an interesting unit on your team if you want to make the most out of Pyro Glacial Lasswell. Get that LB up on like turn 2 and just start spamming Blade Flash Awakens. If you guys want to see more stuff like this, go ahead, feel free, hit the subscribe button. We have plenty of more CG guides coming out on the way. If you want to see the previous content, go ahead, it's in the playlist section. Find it up there somewhere, I think. I don't know. But thanks for the support, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.